Welcome back to Disc 3 of the Final Fantasy IX 20th Anniversary Retrospective. Last time we ended things off with the demise of Queen Bran, who had been one of the main antagonists for the first half of the game. With her death, Kuja took center stage, and Garnet also ascended to the role of Queen after uncovering that she is also a summoner from Madain Sari. We now venture into the back half of this game, and Disc 3 is a big one, so let's not waste any more time and jump right back in to the Final Fantasy IX 20th Anniversary Retrospective.
As long as we remember.
Disc 3 begins with what feels like a new beginning for the game. Just like the beginning of Disc 1, we start out in Alexandria. Zidane is with his Tantalus crew, Vivi is walking the streets, and Garnet is tied up in the castle. Of course, all of our characters have changed, but Final Fantasy IX does a great job of making us feel that this is the start of something new and making us wonder where things will go from here. Also, like Disc 1, you control Vivi and are able to divert your time from the main quest with a minigame, this time a foot race. Everyone is preparing for Garnet's coronation, and our narrative jumps around to all different members of our party. We also get a more lighthearted storyline where Aiko is crafting a love letter to Zidane and sees it inadvertently end up in the hands of Beatrix, who believes it to be addressed to her from Steiner. This entire section of the game is about love. Aiko feels like she is in love with Zidane. Zidane realizes his true feelings for Garnet. Steiner and Beatrix are realizing their feelings for each other. We spend this time strengthening the bonds of our party members and feeling them grapple with how to cope with their new feelings as they move into an uncertain future. Zidane and company decide to head to Treno for a Tetra Master tournament, Zidane obviously using this to take his mind off of Garnet, who he now sees as being impossible to have a relationship with. It is fun to see Tetra Master take center stage, and the card tournament is a nice diversion that reminds us that not everything has to be about the world's impending doom to feel important and interesting. While in Treno, you have the opportunity to do some backtracking to some great areas. First, you can leave and return to Quan's dwelling, and are rewarded for doing so with further backstory into Vivi, who it turns out was raised by Quan. You are even able to return to Dali at this point. It's great to re-explore Dali and acquire some previously unattainable items, but also to experience the town freely without the shadow of mystery looming over it. I seem to always have a smile on my face when I walk around Dali. After the card tournament, however, our calming break is over. Kuja arrives in Alexandria, prepared to wreak havoc once again. He unleashes Bahamut on the city, and Garnet is forced to watch her home burn yet again. After having memories of Madain Sari burning as a child as she fled with her mother, it's awful that she has to relive those memories in front of her once more as her new home burns. Once again, we are helpless to watch another favorite location in the game face destruction. Final Fantasy IX is simply just not shy about ripping us from what we love. Nothing is safe. We control Steiner and Beatrix next as they valiantly defend their kingdom, and man, what a moment. The music helps amplify the severity of it, and once again it's almost as if we're watching a last stand. It feels like Steiner and Beatrix might die while fighting for their kingdom. As Garnet desperately searches for a way to save her kingdom, our parties collide once more, and Aiko is summoned to Garnet from above on the airship. A gorgeous cinematic plays that sees both of the summoners band together to summon Alexander in defense of Bahamut's attack. For the first time, we finally feel like our heroes have the upper hand as the plan seemingly works. Bahamut is destroyed, and two giant white wings come to protect the castle. However, our fanfare is short-lived as Kuja summons Invincible from the skies to claim Alexander for himself. At this point, we are also introduced to a brand new villain, Garland. This is a name and character that fans will be familiar with from other games in the series, and this is yet another villain who seems to clash with Kuja now, rather than aid him. Kuja is definitely proving to have a loyalty problem in his ranks. Rather than enslave Alexander, Garland slays the Eidolon, and we get another amazing cinematic where Garnet falls to her certain death, only to be saved at the last moment by Zidane and Aiko. Garnet's feelings for Zidane begin to come forth here as well. One more cutscene plays, and we witness what we feared, the destruction of much of Alexandria. It really is a wonder that our heroes survive it all, as the devastation is immense. This is Clara all over again. It really is incredible that Final Fantasy IX has the courage to destroy the first location of the game that we visit, because the player surely has such a deep connection to it already. Garland teases his connection to Zidane as well as his overall master plan, and then fades back into the sky. Our party takes refuge in Lindblum, which has thankfully seen restoration efforts. Garnet's character is given yet another evolution, as due to the trauma of losing her kingdom, she has been rendered completely mute. Unable to aid her at the moment, the party instead instead focuses on trying to concoct a cure for Sid, who is still stuck in Oglop form. His mind and capabilities are not what they once were while in this form, and he hopes to be able to build better airships once returned. Unfortunately, they are unsuccessful and Sid turns into a frog instead. After having seen Black Mages on Kuja's airship, the decision is made to return to the Black Mage village to hopefully find more information. The party has lent the ship Blue Narciss to aid in their travel in search of Kuja, and thus they depart and the world once again opens up to us. If you've loved the exploration opportunities in Final Fantasy IX thus far, you're going to fall in love with this portion of the game. There is so much you are now able to do. The Chocobo Hot and Cold game can open up an entire world of possibilities now if you seek it out. There are even areas you can visit early that you otherwise wouldn't be visiting for a while, such as Esto Gaza. It really is remarkable just how much the game opens up here and presents you with opportunities to explore and feel immersed in this world. You can even enter Alexandria Harbor with your ship and return to the ruins of the city to see the destruction for yourself. When you've had your fill of optional areas and exploration, the party arrives at the Black Mage village only to discover that nearly all the Black Mages have left. Kuja has promised them a way to essentially cheat their death and extend their short lifespan. It really is painful to see these Black Mages try so desperately to avoid their inevitable fate, but it's so relatable to the existence of all species. So many of us fear death, the inevitability of it, and there are those that spend much of their life trying to find a way to cheat this reality. Kuja has dangled this possibility in front of them. After discovering the location of Kuja's secret desert palace, because of course he has a secret desert palace, the group heads there and unfortunately immediately falls into Kuja's trap. Kuja then gives Zidane an ultimatum: watch your friends die or do a task for him. Zidane begrudgingly obliges, and you're now given the opportunity to assemble your own party for the upcoming mission. This is just a natural progression after having been given control of almost every character in the game at one point or another. There is also an interesting twist in that the party members you leave behind will also form their own group afterwards, and you'll control them separately. Final Fantasy IX has broken our party up on so many occasions in the game, and this is another example of them splitting the party, keeping our interest in all groups, but also making us yearn for the moment they reunite. Zidane and your chosen party now venture to the ominous, ancient, and bewildering area of Oeilvert to retrieve the Gulug stone. Oeilvert is such an amazing area in terms of its otherworldly backdrop and how strange it feels in compared to other areas we visited. Final Fantasy IX is not afraid to take chances with its areas, and as this is the first major new area of Disc 3, it really sets the precedence. Oeilvert is also unique in that it places a handicap on our entire party. Black and white magic, as well as summoning, sword magic, and blue magic are all sealed, so if you brought a bunch of magic users, you're in trouble. This adds another layer of mystique to an already mystical area. The room full of faces is especially creepy and confusing, and my favorite area in Oeilvert. This place is full of ancient technology from another world, and it serves as a giant puzzle, as one thing must always be done before another will activate. Zidane's character is brought to the forefront here, as it's revealed that he has some kind of tie to Terra, the planet that keeps being mentioned here. And given what we know of Zidane's backstory, mainly that he is searching for an unknown home, the pieces slowly begin to fit together. After a culminating battle with an ancient Eidolon Ark, the party recovers the Gulug stone, and we now flip our narrative back to the captured ones in the Desert Palace. It's here that we get control of a very unexpected character, Regent Sid as a frog. This is a hilarious section that involves stealing the key to free all our heroes from their cells. It's a perfect interlude between two ominous and foreboding areas. Even the music is just too much. The Desert Palace now opens up to us another unique dungeon that is far more elegant and structured than Oeilvert. The puzzles here all involve lighting candles in specific patterns or orders to open up passageways and doors. We also get control of an entire party that is completely without Zidane, and it's a great moment to familiarize ourselves with them and see them work as a unit without their de facto leader. The Desert Palace is full of stunning and shimmering locations, and the detail that has gone into the backgrounds is incredible. The Desert Palace truly comes across as an over-the-top, superbly crafted base for Kuja, and it suits him and his personality perfectly. After successfully navigating the Desert Palace, our parties reunite and the Gulug stone is delivered to Kuja, who tricks Zidane into believing his friends are still captured. Kuja just continues to thwart our heroes and be one step ahead of them. It's interesting to think of just how successful Kuja and the villains in general in this game have been. With the help of Zorn and Thorn, Kuja is once again able to get one step ahead of our party and kidnap Aiko, hoping to extract a powerful Eidolon from her to battle Garland. Kuja flees and we immediately jump into pursuit with our ultimate goal being Mount Gulug. To get there, we need to pass through Esto Gaza, a place you may or may not have stumbled on early if you were keen on exploring. Esto Gaza is a holy place because of its proximity to an area called the Shimmering Sea. There are many religious pilgrims here, and Final Fantasy IX succeeds at making us feel like this is a sacred location, even if we don't fully understand why at this point. This is also the obligatory snow area of Final Fantasy IX, as so many RPGs tend to deliver on that at some point in their story. We pass through Esto Gaza and end up in Mount Gulug, which is another creepy location with a dark history. This is an extinct volcano that has long since been sealed away. Kuja breaks the seal with the Gulug stone, however. Inside, we find dilapidated houses that have long been abandoned by a kind of mole people. All that remains in their structures are several monsters. Also interesting to note, and veterans might have already caught this, Mount Gulug pays tribute to a location in the very first Final Fantasy game, there called Mount Gulg. After successfully navigating Mount Gulug and its many difficult enemies, we find Zorn and Thorn performing the extraction ritual on Eiko. The ritual fails, however, due to her age, and then Mog steps forward and enters trance state to reveal its true Eidolon form. We've become accustomed to trance as a game mechanic, but much like Tetra Master, that game mechanic is given an important role in the narrative. Final Fantasy IX's ability to blend mechanics with powerful, meaningful narrative progression makes every system and detail feel important. Kuja's new plan now involves seeking powerful souls to enter a permanent form of trance, and he hints that to do so, he must travel there, which we can only assume is the other planet we learned about in Oeilvert, Terra. We now get another boss fight with Zorn and Thorn, but in a completely undead demonic state of some kind with them fused together. Before we leave, we get a startling revelation as we find Hilda, Cid's estranged wife who turned him into an Oglop in the first place. Hilda was abducted by Kuja for her airship, it turns out. Cid and Hilda are soon reunited and make amends, and Cid is finally able to return to his human form, a satisfying conclusion to that part of his story. We also get final confirmation to the existence of another planet, Terra, and learn that Kuja is actually from there, not from our home planet of Gaia. And while the plan would seem to be to seek out Terra, it turns out the gateway between the two worlds is sealed. Our next destination is therefore Ipsen's castle, where there's a means to break the seal according to Kuja. Before leaving, Zidane seeks out Garnet in Alexandria, who has regained her voice and sense of purpose. She makes a vow to do right by her country and her people, and signs that vow with the act of cutting off her hair to always remind her of that promise. It's also very symbolic that she cuts her hair with a dagger, which is also the name she took as an alias. We get a beautiful shot of her looking at her destroyed kingdom with a new sense of purpose and feeling like a new person herself. I love how Final Fantasy IX presents you with a large world from the beginning, but also makes so much of it feel foreign. This is an unexplored world. Beyond the Mist Continent, civilizations are few and far between, and you truly feel like explorers discovering things for the first time. Before heading to Ipsen's castle, we can yet again explore and uncover some great side content in the game, such as returning to Quan's dwelling. Here, Vivi and Quina can reunite with Quan one final time. You can also acquire a gold chocobo by this point and visit the Chocobo Air Garden, which houses the optional super boss, Ozma. And there's even more, because all of that Moogle mail you've been delivering finally serves a purpose. You can discover the home of Mognet Central and work towards getting Mognet Central back online. And we're not done yet, because there's an entire optional city called Daguerro that is now accessible. This is a city of knowledge, and you'll find many books, scholars, and information here. There are tons of opportunities to acquire rare and powerful gear here too, not to mention the ability to rename your party members and speak with a treasure hunter who turns out to be, spoiler alert, Gilgamesh, which is a veteran character of Final Fantasy lore. Despite all the content here, Daguerro is such a unique and interesting location to walk around in. At times it feels somewhat familiar and reminiscent of, say, the library area in Alexandria, but it also feels like its own secluded location with its own secluded people. When you've had your fill of all the optional content, it's back on track to Ipsen's castle. And what a mesmerizing and stunning location it is. This is an architectural wonder. The castle is both right side up and upside down at the same time, and many rooms that you'll traverse will be upside down as well. On top of that, much like Oeilvert, there's some interesting handicaps at play here. Your weaker weapons will actually do more damage than your stronger ones. You will want to equip your lowest attack power weapons here to be effective. It's yet another example of Final Fantasy IX taking chances and attempting to subvert the norm in service of keeping the player on their toes. And to aid you, you'll find several early weapons scattered in chests throughout Ipsen's castle. Amarant takes on a more important role in the story here as well, as he challenges Zidane to a race to acquire the information they need. He has built a sort of rivalry with Zidane, still not understanding him, and sets out to prove his worth. And in fact, after navigating through this amazing castle, Amarant is actually the winner. He seemingly proves that working with others only slows you down, and feeling vindicated, he sets out on his own and says he is leaving the party permanently. Our heroes now discover a map that features locations of 4 shrines that hold the key to unlocking the way to Terra. After acquiring the information they came for, they leave the castle. However, Zidane realizes that Amarant never made it out, and he takes it upon himself to go back in alone to find him. He finds the arrogant Amarant injured and alone, and once again, Amarant cannot understand why Zidane has gone out of his way for him. He just simply cannot understand Zidane and his way of thinking, his way of being. Amarant has been alone for so long, and he is convinced that it is the only way to be. But now he is slowly starting to realize and accept what it means to be part of a team. Since the 4 shrines need to be secured simultaneously, our heroes split into 4 teams of 2, and once again, Final Fantasy IX stresses that everyone is important. This is not Zidane's story. This is no individual's story. This is everyone's story, and without each and every one of them, nothing is possible. Amarant has just learned the importance and meaning of being on a team, and we have learned this too over the course of the game. Every one of these characters matter. It's insanely fun to see the different pairings, and I almost wish we were given the opportunity of controlling each 2-person party and seeing each shrine play out so we could see more of them interact with their shrines and their enemies. There are now once again several things you can do optionally around the world, even gathering coffee for Morid near Dali. I won't go through them all, but needless to say, this game is not a game that is light on side content. And with that, it's finally time to pass through the Shimmering Island and into Terra, and we do so with an amazing cutscene that sees all of our party members dive into this new world. For a game about exploration and discovery, it's no surprise that we leave the planet completely. Immediately upon arriving, Zidane meets Garland and is thrust into the spotlight again as he begins to finally unravel the mystery surrounding his origins. This is the most alien that a location has felt in Final Fantasy IX, and it almost feels like areas such as Oeilvert and the Aoife tree were only building towards this place. Zidane eventually discovers Bran Bal, an entire community of people that all have tails and his distinct hairstyle and look. However, they all seem kind of lifeless. They talk almost like they lack soul or character. This is the place of Zidane's birth. Zidane is something called a genome, a vessel meant for the lost souls of Terra to return to. Zidane, however, is special and was meant to succeed Kuja, who is also a powerful genome sent to Gaia to cause calamity and therefore send countless souls to the crystal at the heart of the planet. Zidane was sent to Gaia for the exact same purpose, a tool of destruction. Terra used to be an advanced civilization, but after a failed attempt to fuse with Gaia and assimilate, Terra was shifted inside the planet of Gaia, and several of its structures sprung forth to the surface of Gaia, locations such as the Aoife tree and Oeilvert. Suddenly, the alien-like qualities and otherworldly feel of these places completely make sense. Naturally, these revelations prove to be disappointing and hard to accept for Zidane. The home he has searched for so long is nothing like he imagined. We start to truly see the parallels in Vivi and Zidane's tales here. Both are tools for destructive purposes, and both are without a true home. Instead, both of these characters must build a new home for themselves, something to call their own. Zidane now confronts Garland in Pandemonium to acquire all of this new information. Garland plans to make Gaia into Terra, with all the souls from Terra past transferred into the genomes. It's here that Zidane denies his existence and his true purpose. His home is Gaia, and his friends are his family. He will not be Garland's angel of death. Unable to manipulate Zidane as he hoped to, Garland resorts to removing Zidane's soul and leaving him a lifeless husk, much like the other genomes. However, the process is ultimately unsuccessful. We get a powerful string of events where all of Zidane's friends, his new family, will his soul back, and soon Zidane is returned. I love this moment, and seeing how important his new family is to him is the perfect end to Zidane's quest for his origins. His true origin is unacceptable, and he discards it because of how disheartening it is. He makes his own home and family. What I take the most from this is that the feeling of home and family is what you make of it. It's not a place, it is a feeling. Steiner's words to Zidane here are especially touching when you consider how these two started and how far they've come. And especially poignant are Steiner's words to Garland, as they encapsulate so much of what I think the story is ultimately about. I may not know who I am, but that is my question alone to answer. We finally get to square off with Garland himself, Zidane's maker, and put a bow on top of this storyline. We are so close to the end, and facing off with Garland truly feels like a big moment. Ultimately, we don't deliver the final blow as Kuja interferes and in the ensuing battle finally achieves the transform he desired. He then pushes Garland off the edge of Pandemonium to his demise. Yet again, Kuja has taken center stage after felling another villain in the story. Here it's also revealed that Kuja's life is finite and will end soon. It's the perfect irony after the black mages that Kuja created had to face that same kind of reality, and Kuja even promised them a longer life. Once again, the story returns to the theme of life and death. Kuja is sent into a fit of rage over this new information and in one fell swoop destroys Terra. Once again, Final Fantasy IX wreaks havoc over its settings without remorse. Our heroes narrowly escape on the Invincible, and Disc 3 comes to its dramatic conclusion. We are so nearly done taking a look back on Final Fantasy IX, but there's one final stop to make and a breathtaking conclusion to experience as well. So make sure you keep your eyes on the channel for Disc 4 coming soon. The best way to know when it releases is to subscribe to the channel and make sure your notifications are turned on. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you so much to everyone for watching and for everyone who has supported this video series and my channel as a whole. I can't wait to bring you more content. See you in the next one.